Somebody did that to somebody.
We were in Marfa 2 weeks ago when I wasn't able to get back in time.
Yes.
And my wife was walking down the street and she sees this silverish looking coin about this big on the pavement. She goes, "Oh, that's weird." She picks it up and it's like a souvenir coin. And a block later she sees another one. It's like, where's the camera?
And you're like, who am I following?
And a block later there's another one. So she's convinced that somebody's filming her. So nobody ever popped out of the woods. So.
Those ones you see online on YouTube and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Maybe so. It's kind of like, well, of course, they
Guess
don't
we need
fit
to
the
watch
rocks, but you know the little rocks you find out there, you're supposed to, take a picture and then put it up on a website and show you picked it up and moved it or something, the little colored rocks and stuff you're finding around town.
There's one on top of the drop box for the utility.
Yeah. They leave them out here periodically, and apparently you're supposed to take a picture of them, and there's a website, the kids do this, and then you move it to another spot, and then somebody else will find it.
Oh,
And so
okay.
it's kind of a deal where, they see, I guess, that, you don't know who did it, but it just kind of, I guess they follow it or something.
Okay.
It was real big here before COVID hit.
Okay.
And now I noticed that one out there, and I thought, oh, somebody's still doing it, but I'm sure Angela can tell us about it from the library, because I know when it first happened, I was like, what are these painted rocks? Because some of them are really, really nice. I mean, and I know they leave them a lot of times the PD, and Terry takes a picture and then moves them or does something so that somebody else can find them.
Okay.
See where they go.
All right.
It's like.
Now, we would do something like that to military people. We would turn around and say, where in the world is, especially like on deployments, somebody would bring like a special like Beanie Baby or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, that Beanie Baby be all over the place.
Yeah. Oh, there it is. It's kind of like that elf on the shelf thing that they do. That is hilarious.
Oh, gosh.
I don't have one, but that is so funny at Christmas time when people do that.
Oh, we'd never had one either, and so.
It's fun to watch them.
Yeah, it was funny because when the Air Transportable Hospital I was a part of, we were in South Korea and everything, so we would say, oh, Beanie Baby made sure Snake was cleared out of here first, and all this other stuff. Like, oh, very good.
Yeah.
Feels good in here. I wish my backhoe had air conditioning. How are you, sir? Good to see you. Good to see y'all.
And you, sir.
Good to see you.
Good to be back.
Yeah, glad to have you back. We missed you last time.
Tell you what, it seems like I sort of skipped out on some fireworks. But got back and I saw that email. I went, oh my, I need to go watch the video.
Oh, you having any fun yet?
Oh, yeah. So dang busy. I'm hoping it's going to taper off here real soon. But
Get all your corn in?
yeah, all but about 20 acres. Combine broke down 2 days in a row.
Oh, no.
2015 combine with 2,000 hours on it.
Oh boy.
Yeah. That's why you buy one pretty new, Just got a lemon, I guess. I don't know. Well, my son-in-law traded 12 in 2012 because he custom harvests, so he counts on it more than the average person and runs more acres through it. He bought this one used. The other one was bought used, and I just had a little bad luck with it. I mean, it runs good when it's running,
Do
but
they come out and fix it when they break it?
Okay, everything's all like it works.
So you just doesn't want it. What happens to your crops?
well, no, he's got a pretty good relationship with the dealer, so they come. The problem is getting parts for it if it needs parts.
What?
And
Like,
then I had a few other choice words.
hello there. Fuji apple, like Friday.
Somebody looks like
Burned the
they're
main
planning to
valve
be here
off
for
the
a while.
engine because one of the idlers on the front of the engine,
It's like at
besides
least a
all the
full
pumps
day's
that
provisions right
are
there.
alternator, crankshaft, auxiliary, and one of the stationary idlers. Okay. 2,000 hours, god dang. The guy that had the machine last year that traded it in, his machine, had the parts on his truck. And so we called him and we met him in Dilley and got the parts from him. Next morning,
I open up the door.
It's on, well, it's got a tensioner on
Open
it,
up the
plus
door, he
another
looks at me,
stationary
walks
idler.
past me, goes out in the
I
front
said,
yard,
I
comes
changed that
back,
other
like,
idler
what the hell?
last year, so you should be
His
good.
dog,
He's
the big
fun.
girl, she looks at me, looks outside, gives me this look
Started
of
building off
disgust.
of it
Or
again,
I'm
the
walking
other stationary idler locked up. No, and I thought, well, maybe it's, you know, a Taiwanese bearing or something.
Hello.
And that guy that-
All right, how are you?
No, he said, I went to Bull's Bearing, and I bought USA bearings to put in that.
Just,
He said, because I couldn't get one.
Keep it afloat.
Oh, look at that.
Problems with the deaf, it was deaf.
I was gonna lend this to you.
Emissions. And I'm having trouble with it all the time. It sets a code, it goes into a warning mode.
Just in case you had that.
And then after 3 more hours, and then it goes into red, and then it shuts it down.
Well, I've got the Robert's Rules of Order right here.
Shouldn't, so I don't know.
I'm good, but I'm not comprehensive.
Well, this machine new probably cost $500,000. And I think you paid about.
This is the product of the climbing the ladder of the TSPS, so the executive office, and having to be able to maintain a meeting. And
We were
have
trying to get
people out
ready, he's
there
supposed to be
doing
cutting
very
pickles,
versed.
90 acres of pickles for
Curveballs
himself.
at you.
And we had the linear, the irrigation system.
There you go, that's,
So we were scrambling to try to get that up and running. I mean, he had guys working on it, but we had to actually test it. They tested pretty good. We got something that cleaning out spray nozzles, you know, on it and stuff like that. No, it was, I'm sure he's still planting. 90 acres of pickles. Cucumbers. Planting for pickles.
Man, 90 acres of pickles.
Yeah. Could be, right? I'll have plenty of cucumbers to give away come pickle harvest 40 days from now.
There you go.
Yeah, that's how long it takes them. From seed to harvest, 40 days. That's cool. Yeah, ain't that crazy? Hi there, Dora.
Hi. I said I've run off my burger today because I've run back 4 or 5 times.
Yeah. Anyway, I got to go to the ranch today and it was hot.
Hey, Arnie, can we have Scott back for a couple of minutes? Can we have Scott back for a couple of minutes?
You're probably gonna have to.
Do you have something I can hook up to the? Thank you. I saw that.
oh, he wanted them both.
You know, it's both the same night, we're gonna be taking a recess.
My dad's the same way.
You're presenting first,
My
right?
dad fell there to the house.
It's a wireless cable.
What do y'all get to do the invocation? I didn't call.
No, actually, we have somebody.
He lives.
Hi. Good, how are you?
He lives.
I gave him a Saturday. I don't know why he don't get the Saturday first.
Okay.
Hey, how are you? Good to see you. And he fell in the yard.
One of my old employees from out at Wilbur, her son passed away yesterday.
Yes.
I'm gonna wait till tomorrow.
Saw our numbers,
There we go.
257.
But he's black and blue.
Saw one Texas town out near El Paso.
Yeah,
The whole
West
town is
Texas,
closed.
West Texas is a mess.
The whole town shut down
COVID?
because, yeah, that's 52%.
COVID.
I did that one day to chase my chair all the way.
No, we're done with it. And then that 20 acres of land in this house, we're done, but he's prepping a field.
I have a video, so that's fine.
He said,
Which
Iran, Texas
Iran.
had to shut down.
for next year.
IRAAN. It's out, it's out near El Paso too.
Not near Arizona yet.
But yeah, 52% of the town
Nobody's got a station.
all have it, so they shut down everything.
At that point, they're behind the curve. That needs to happens.
Well, it's not gonna get any better because they're sending refugees from Afghanistan and they're not vaccinated.
Neither were the million and a half.
What you need, but
I know. And they're all being staged there on the list.
You have it on there?
Yeah, I got it here. I've got his country.
No,
And you're presenting tonight? If you are, it's up to him. If you are, then here he is, he'll just pass you the thing, but whatever.
I can plug it into mine.
Yeah,
I shipped them all the red
I got it
states.
all ready to go on the
How
slide.
does that work?
Yeah, exactly.
It's just 5 chart.
let me just pull this up. Give me one second. So now I'm not ready. Shit. We are here, we're here. There we go. Okay.
What's funny is,
There's a whole bunch of stuff.
if you look at the outline,
All right, we all ready, Deborah?
there's some real odd numbers in there.
Okay, great. Sorry about the delay, everybody. We're going to call this meeting to order at 5:02. Let's start with a roll call, starting with District 1.
District 1, Sheena Martinez.
District 2, Paul Carey is back.
District 3, Phil King is back.
District 4, Todd Shearhart.
District 5, Herb Dyer.
And Darren Schroeder, Mayor. So all accounted for. Please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Please remain standing for the invocation. Pastor McCormick, please.
Creator God, thank you for the opportunity to be a guest in someone else's house. We ask now that you would be with the council as they go about their business, help them to be open to the conversation, and help them to be attentive to what is said and what is not said. Be with those citizens who are here to make reports or to provide other information. And may all of this be handled tenderly and with compassion. We pray this in Jesus' most powerful name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. And this is Reverend Joyce McCormick from the New Fountain Methodist Church. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming all the way in. Thank you for praying for us. We
New
need that.
Fountain Church, wow.
Historic church. All right, let's open it up now for citizens' comments. Do we have anybody that wants to speak for citizens' comments? All right. Next item is consent agenda. It's minutes for August 10th, 2021, regularly called council meeting.
I'm going to abstain from voting as I was not present.
Same with me.
All right. Do I have a motion from somebody who was here? Or any
I'll
discussion?
make a motion, we approve the consent agenda as read.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion passes. Okay, so the next one is the public hearing. It's the second public hearing on the proposed tax rate for FY 2022. All right, do we have any discussion on that?
Well, we're going to open it.
Oh, I'm sorry, we got a,
Well, why did I give you that? I should have kept it.
what's that?
What you have, because I have a presentation.
Oh, you need that here?
Yeah, but,
Here.
well, it's not going to help right now.
Hmm?
Damn, you got some fancy stuff here.
No, no?
I think you're going to have to, well, I have Leroy bring his machine. So this isn't logged in, and I don't have your, well, I'll tell you, you know what? You have the SharePoint, don't you?
With another account.
Yeah, just pull it up on your SharePoint.
You can run his video
Isn't this
for
great?
you.
And we all can share that stuff? So
Nice.
I think the
Okay.
tax
Where's that?
will be, it'll be under
Finance?
finance.
I was opening one of those today and it was like, I want to print this page. You can't print a page from here. Back out, download it.
I think we have it. You want to set it there?
Okay, now I got a picture.
And that's tax public hearing.
It's a PDF.
It's a PDF. I don't know if I have a copy. But we can do it with a PDF. It won't be pretty good.
Says August 10th.
So you know that one
No, if he's got it, then I'll just show it.
It says August 10th.
It's a total of 7.
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
He
Okay.
didn't check today.
Yeah, it's a total of 7 slides. So again, this is for the public hearing on the tax rate.
And we have the public hearing.
Okay. So let's open the public hearing at 5:06.
And I would like, if anybody would like to speak, I'm just going to present 7 slides. If you want to speak during or after, you're welcome to do so. If you will go to the next slide, that's the wrong date. Today is August the 24th.
Do y'all need the lights?
There we
Do you
go.
see it?
This is yeah, is that visible? You don't see this? Is it on full screen? Yeah. Good. All right, so most of this, I think all of this will be repeat from prior meetings. Just to talk about, the tax rate, et cetera, what the city council has approved as the maximum tax rate that it will adopt is that top blue line. It's 0.538123. The reason that it is that amount and that weird number is simply because that is the maximum rate that's allowable without an election. And 100% of that increase, if you will, would be put towards the INS, or the interest and sinking rate. Just for illustrative purposes, the other rates that the city has had in recent years are there. In 2019, the rate was 0.5233. In 2020, it's 0.507. And most recently in 21, it's 0.495. The O&M rate, the needed rate for this year is 0.4385. And the INS rate, if we were to make no changes, is 0.027, so it's 2.7 cents. We go to the next slide. This just illustrates that there is 7 cents for new INS, so keep in mind, it's about 10 cents total, but a little bit less than 3 cents of that is already committed for the existing interest and sinking that we've been collecting in years past. That rate was a little over 3 cents last year. With property value increases, the rate decreases, right? We talked about that relationship in the past. Next slide, please. This just shows you what our average home value is in Medina County. You will see that Castroville, on average, has the highest value homes in all of Medina County. It's more than double almost the next highest, which would be the city of Hondo at 114. Next slide. This is what you're taking that average tax value and looking at this past year's taxes. So again, just for informative purposes and really just to show, put it in context, what we pay to the city, what the city collects from its taxpayers versus what they pay for all the other entities, taxing entities. You'll see that the city, for the average home, that top line, a citizen is going to pay us $1,000 a year for for the services that they receive. That's fire and streets and parks and all the other things that the general fund pays for throughout the year. Then all other things combined, they're paying about $4,361 to the other entities. Of that, $2,700 goes to Medina Valley. So again, that's just for the average home value. Next slide, please. Tax rate revenue projections. This just shows if, again, that the 0.4648, that is kind of what I call the do-nothing rate. That is that O&M that I mentioned earlier of 0.43 to 43 cents for operations and maintenance, plus the 0.027 for your interest and sinking. So that gets you that 0.4648. There's no new debt. There's no new INS rate involved in that. That's just doing the status quo. The next two rates, 0.523. And obviously, there's any number of options between 0.4648 and 0.5381. But I just show those two. 0.5233, that's the what I call the historic rate that was in existence in 2018, I believe I said. If we were to adopt that rate and use 100% of that money for debt issuance, what we would do, in essence, is transfer some of the existing debt that's on the books. We've issued some debt that's eligible to be funded from the general fund. That'd be shifted for the first year only. We would then we'd basically shift $2.8 million worth of debt. And then we'd go and issue new debt sometime next year. And then next year, we would shift that money back. I know that's complicated, but that's how that works. That's how you're eligible to do that. Because technically, you cannot raise a rate to go issue new debt. It has to be for existing debt. But we already have more than enough debt than what our rate allows without going to an election. So, That's 2.8 million of new debt, and then 0.538, that's 3.3 million. So it's a little less than, about $500,000 more is what we did to borrow. Next slide. This just puts it in perspective for Bexar County. What are the rates in Bexar County and Medina County? You can see that over half of the cities, or half of the cities in Medina County already charge a rate that's over 50 cents. Some of them well over 50 cents. Us and Honda are really close. We were both at 0.49 and something last year, so we were knocking on the door of 50 cents. And in Bexar County, about a third of the cities in Bexar County also charge over 50 cents. So if you were to adopt a rate over 50, this kind of just puts where that rate might fall. Next slide, please. This just gives you a comparison within Medina County alone, looking at those same rates we just looked at, and then looking at the eligibility for exclusions for tax purposes. We are the only city in Medina County to offer a tax freeze. If you have anyone over the age of 65 that is complaining to you about the potential new tax rate, just tell them, well, one, if you haven't filed for a freeze, you need to do it. And if you have filed for a freeze, you don't have an issue. But you're not going to, it won't impact you at all, like zero, right? I'm not over 65, but if I were, I'd be saying, yeah, raise them. I'm not paying for it, right? But go fix my streets.
Two more years.
That's, what's that?
2 more years.
Yeah, 2 more years. Get close. Unfortunately, values are nuts. I mean, anyway. So that just puts it in perspective, tells you where we are and what's offered and what the rates are. I think this might be the last slide.
You have several more.
No, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah. So the next public hearing is on budget. I've got, I think, 5 slides on that.
Okay.
Any comments? Anyone wishing to speak? I'll do your part. Sorry, Mary.
All right. Any questions? Any comments? You already asked, so I think we're covered there. All right.
No one wishing to speak, we need to close it at...
Let's close the public hearing at 5:13.
The next item is the budget public hearing, right? This is the next item.
Okay, hold on a second.
Would you like a printed copy? Or does he have one?
Yeah.
Yes. We understand that too.
Thank you. All right, so the next item is a public hearing. It's the first public hearing on FY 2021-2022 proposed annual operating budget. We're going to open this public hearing at 5:14. Is there anybody that would like to speak? Okay. All right, let me bring this up for you.
So all of this, just like the last presentation, will be repeat. What we're talking about is the proposed budget, the 21-22 budget. There have been no changes since our, several meetings ago. So I'm going to walk through the changes that we did have. If you go to the next slide. This is just our budget calendar and where we're at today. So today is August 24th. Prior to this, we had a retreat back in June. It may seem like a year ago, but it really was only a couple of months. Then we had a work session on June 22nd. We had another work session on July 6th and 7th, I guess. 6th and 7th. Then we did a work session number 2 and work session number 3 on July 13th and 27th. August 10th, we had our first tax hearing and budget work session, and now we're on August 24th, and we're having our second tax hearing and budget hearing. So September 14th is our next regularly scheduled council meeting, and at that meeting, we will adopt the budget. Then you'll have a hearing for the tax rate and adopt the tax rate sufficient to support the budget you just adopted. And you'll ratify that rate, whatever that tax rate is, right? Tomorrow, or Thursday, we will have a capital planning session. I hope that will give everyone, and myself.
Thursday.
Did I say Thursday?
Thursday, said tomorrow. Sorry.
Thursday, this Thursday, 2 days. We have an all-day work session here in this room. It's a public meeting where we'll talk about capital planning, and hopefully that'll help us establish the rate. And then the 28th, we will have our comprehensive fee schedule. I will highlight any fees that are in the fee schedule that were baked in, if you will, into the budget. I don't think there are any, but if there are any, I'll make that very clear to you. But again, I don't think that the budget and the comprehensive fee schedule really aren't tied together. Not this year's.
Why not?
They just aren't. We could. It reduces the pressure on the need to establish those rates.
What
So
if
we
the
can have-
city council wants to change a rate? We've already adopted the budget.
This is something we talked about before. So I've always done it this way. I was raised kind of doing it this way in city management. We always do the rates after we adopt the budget. And I've always kind of done the same thing where I've let them know, here's the rates that are baked into the budget, here's ones that aren't. And if you want to change, if in this case there were a rate that were tied in the budget, which there's not, but there were, we would just have to amend the budget after adopting it. But we amend the budget throughout the year anyway, so it's not a big deal.
And I really didn't comment on that too much because there's no rates that we're currently looking at reducing. So any of the rates would be potential increases based on inflation, cost of living.
I believe that's true. I'll be honest, I've been so focused on these two aspects, I've had very little time to talk to my staff about their proposed rates. There may be a couple that we're offsetting, like we might reduce this section to increase this section. I'm thinking about pool charges and that kind of thing. That could be the case, but.
Well, and the other reason is because we're still waiting on the utility.
Right, and
rates
I don't
that-
know if the utilities will be this part of this
Will be a part of
discussion or
that.
not. We'll see. I've still got to get an answer on
I'd
that.
still like to do that. yeah.
Yes, me too.
Okay.
Me too.
I just would like to say, I don't understand. Well, I understand this is the way you always have done it, and I support that. I'm not going to argue
I
about
think
it.
they've done it that way here too. I'm not.
Well, I've been on the city council. This is the third year I've been on the city council. And every budget that was done while I've been on the city council, the council had an opportunity to discuss those rates along with the capital before the budget was approved. And it just seems like we're doing it backwards. We're going to approve the budget, and then we're going to discuss the 17 pages of rates.
If those rates are not necessary, we're not talking about lowering rates.
Yeah, well, maybe we're thinking about raising them.
Well, but my point is, if we raise them, all that is gravy on the budget from a revenue standpoint. Like, the budget you've adopted is self-sufficient
I agree
with
with
the
that.
rates that have already been adopted, so.
But then your budget, when you publish the budget for the public to read, you know, they're reading rates that we haven't even discussed yet.
Well, we won't publish it, so the actual final document that gets published probably won't be published until October.
Okay.
In part because
Just
of the
wanted to make
transmittal
that
letter, there's
clear.
other
Sure.
pieces that go with that, and we make it beautiful and presentable.
And after you had brought that up before, and I appreciate you bringing it up, I had looked into it and I was just trying to identify any kind of risk that we would be under if we did it like that. I didn't see any risk in doing that. I don't see that we're going back and asking people, you know, it's not like we're going to go back and raise taxes, raise the fees for the majority of the stuff that most people are already getting. So I think that any of the fees, like from my standpoint, I think any of the fees would be for some of the new growth. I think we need to start taking a look at that. I'm getting
Well, maybe airport hangars, we always have a big discussion about that every budget year. I mean, that's not a amount of money, that's a lot of money,
Right.
a lot of revenue.
Right.
And we have huge increases in the cost of living and the CIP, and we really need to have that discussion. That's the only point I'm making.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, because we're doing this we're doing the budget with the lower amount, I don't see that there's any risk in that.
That said, I have no investment in when the rates get adopted. I don't know, I can talk to staff following this meeting to see if that's something we want to try and bring forward to be in concert on the 24th, no, on the 14th, next meeting. If we're ready to bring them forward, I think they're pretty much in a finished state. I don't really care. It does, I have zero,
My
stake
only
in
preference
how
on this is,
the
I think that our main responsibility right here is making sure that we've got a solid budget. I would rather focus on getting this, if you can do it in addition and it doesn't delay us at all, it doesn't shortchange anything, then that would be great.
My biggest issue has been tax rate, and I think I've been pretty upfront about that. I want to know what is the tax rate going to be. I cannot make that myself. It is going to be 100% dependent on how much you want to issue in debt, and I know that we had a good conversation last meeting about the need to understand, well, what are we going to spend it on? So we're going to do that on Thursday of this week. So hopefully we can get better, kind of circle wagons in that respect. But that really, my big thing has been tax rate, but the fees aren't that big an issue. So we can talk about fees, and we'll also talk about the airport, and I'll see if we can't bring it forward to the 14th, because if we're ready, there's no reason to delay it.
Yeah, I agree with her. In the past, it's always been that way, that we would always wrap them into the budget, but they're really, it's just pennies compared to the whole thing. So, and I mean, it's such a small amount that it really doesn't affect all the budget. It just, I mean, it's literally pennies to the dollar as far as what our fees are. So I don't mind talking about them afterwards.
Well, my understanding is you've done it both ways in the past. So in the past, you've done it before and after, and again, I'm ambivalent. That's the word I was looking for, ambivalent. All right, next slide, please. This is our expenditure summary. You'll see on the lower right-hand side, this increased from like $3,003,000 something and change, about $77,000 is the difference. But it's 3,407. That's our total expenditure summary. Next slide. You will see this is your revenue summary, and the numbers are exactly equal. That's not by happenstance. We increased the revenues by the difference, next slide, which was $77,422. This is where we had our expenditure increases. Again, we talked about this before, ADP, the longevity pay, the retirement matching. So those are the three major categories where we increased the general fund. One more, and then our revenue increases in the general fund. Again, we increased sales tax by $53,000 to make that up. Property tax by 11. Again, we didn't actually assess additional taxes. We were being conservative in our revenue, so we're just a little bit less, conservative in the revenue. And that's really what you're doing here. We're not imposing additional tax. We're just being less conservative than what we estimated. And then other revenue by 8 and a utility transfer by 46. That actually equals the 3.5% transfer that we're going to discuss when we talk about rates that was recommended from the consultant. Next slide, please. That's it. That's the budget. This is the budget workshop. I'll turn the time over to you.
Thanks. And if you if you need more details on any of that, has everybody found the proposed budget on that SharePoint?
The Excel file.
It's the Excel file. Can you just send out?
I'll rename it and I'll send a link.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, and I'll actually, so I have, what's out there is the one from June. So y'all may recall, back in June, when we did the first proposed budget, you asked for the Excel sheet. I posted it. I sent that out to you all. But it isn't named budget. It's named General Fund Summary. So it might be a little misleading, the name. But it is, I think, there might be two Excel workers, but I think it's the only one. So I'll rename that to the budget, the proposed budget, and I'll actually put out the one that has these, which will be the August version. So it'll be an August version that you get. I'll take care of that for you tonight.
All right, thanks. All right, anything else? All right, we're going to close the public hearing at 5:25. All right, next item is Mayor's Report. I'm going to try and keep this pretty short. So today we're going to talk about, so this is, the way I wrote it was the mayor's approach to capital improvements. And just, this is so that the council's aware of the way that I'm approaching it with Scott. My general feelings on some of this stuff. Obviously, this is council's decision, but this is just in full transparency to let you know how I feel about these, how I think about these, and the recommendations that I'm going to be making. So we'll touch on a few different things: communications, planning, and funding. So on communications, I believe in, I think you all know this, I believe in getting that information out as quickly as possible, as widely as possible. We need to make sure that that people know what's going on. So my approach with this really, and this is my overall approach, and this is what Scott has been doing literally on his own. He set the baseline. So one of the things that I so appreciate about the amount of time that he spent on this is making sure that our O&M is understandable, it is predictable, and it sets that baseline of this is what it costs to run the city. Any improvements over that, any kind of capital improvements, are going to be completely separate, pulled out of the other budget. I feel like it was very confusing the way that it used to be. It didn't really give you a true picture because there was O&M mixed in with the capital, so I commend you on this. This was your idea, this was your approach, and I really appreciate the way that you did that. So we're setting that baseline so that we can look at that year over year and look at the capital improvements as a separate item. So the next is explain situation. And this is making sure that council's aware of it, making sure that the people that we represent are aware of this. So this is for us to talk about during these meetings, to talk about the people that we represent, proactive communication in this. I said this before, discuss widely, make sure that it's not a secret, nothing's going on behind closed doors, and that people are fully aware of things that you're concerned with, things that you support, things that you don't support. So that is really that open communication. And then decide thoughtfully. As stewards of the money that the people that our friends, our neighbors, our family, the people that we represent, we need to be good stewards of their money, including our own, and be very thoughtful in the way that we approach these things. So that's what I'm talking about with communication, is really just open, honest, and thorough. So planning, and again, this is something that Scott really has been driving home. The general fund items that are tax supported, primarily at streets, drainage, parks, library, police. With streets, I firmly believe that we need to be doing more on streets. I don't know that, did we confirm there was no, the prior 2 years the city spent no money on up until, when did we start doing that? We started doing it at the end of last year.
I believe that's accurate. So the slide, we were reviewing the presentation that Devin made the other day that reviewed the capital expenditures. So you had $500,000 that was spent in 2017 or 18. And then 19 and 20, there was some minimal county investment, $25,000 or less in each of those years. And then in 2021, we had the 250 that was approved. It was 190
and then I got it.
Plus some pothole repair and that kind of stuff. The 2017 year was 500,000, and I believe that was the overlay project that we talked about before. But in 19 and 20, we didn't show any investment on behalf of the city.
Right.
Well, the only two done was the one up by the church, and then the River Road.
And were those county
Petersburg
projects?
No, the River Road, that was county,
yeah,
and then we paid for the chip seal on it.
Okay.
And I think that was also true of the church, right?
You talking about Cross Hill?
Cross Hill,
Yeah, in front of
That was
the.
bid out. I mean, it's not.
that was a bit out.
Miami County.
Okay.
Okay. Well, what we're showing in our accounting system is about $25,000 of county expended funds in those 2 years. So if there was amount spent, I don't have record of it.
So my point is that I think the biggest complaint that I hear about Castroville, honestly, it's the streets. So streets, and for people that live here, it's drainage. So I put those up top, not because I feel like they're the most important, but those are the things that, like, if I'm going to approach anything, if I have to go to somebody and say, you know what, we can't reduce your tax rate, we might have to increase the property tax rate. The sales tax takes care of itself. But if I have to go to somebody and I say, you know what, we have to look at getting additional revenue, and the only reason I'm going to do it is because we're doing something that is well needed, that people totally agree on, and it's something that helps everybody out. I am personally against raising taxes. But I don't want, this isn't a personal, this isn't the Darren show, and so I don't want to just say, you know what, I'm not willing to do this. I'm willing to take the streets as they are, because everybody that's telling me we have street problems, we have drainage problems. The parks, the library, obviously you can always do things in there. They're great amenities, and no matter if people value the individual items as a whole, we've got great amenities here. And so those, I'm not looking, I don't think that we look at doing like any kind of increases in those areas, but just look at refining that. So it's looking at those and finding out where they fall in terms of people's priorities. And then police, obviously. And then the enterprise fund, rate supported. With capital projects planning, I really believe that we need to take a look at this. I put utilities first because to me the airport, and David's been doing a great job out there, and Chuck, thanks for all your assistance. That is self-supported, that is self-functioning, that is paying for itself. The city is not paying for any of that, so I'm a little bit less concerned with what happens there as long as it remains self-sufficient and no issues, no burdens on the taxpayers or the rate, because it's rate supported. But the utilities, that's something I think that we need to take a look at. Again, this is not out of tax funds, this is out of the rates. Taking a really close look at what are we actually supplying. I think that our utilities cost too much as it is. I don't support raising that. When I first moved here, I was told by a former mayor, hey, just watch it. Before I actually bought, he said, watch out, because our utility rates are going to be going up 10% every year, compounded for the next 5 years. And that kind of freaked me out. And I don't like that. I don't support that. But I think that what we need to do with the utilities is be very careful about where we're actually spending that. And that is in increasing the, well, it's increasing the reliability of it, and it's increasing the redundancy. It's increasing the communication so that when we have an outage, we can talk to people. And I'll talk about that in a second with some of the other, but really I'm looking at how do we plan for some of these, and then looking at planning for the future. So this is, again, that careful, methodical, we carefully plan out improvements with a complete plan. We've talked about the streets. If we go any direction, I think that we need to make sure that we're very aware of how we're doing this. We've talked about the asphalt zipper, the one that reclaims roads. There's the leveler. We've got some other items that are on here. We have the county that's stepping up and even more offering to help. Larry's been a great partner in that. But I don't want to go at any of these kind of halfway. I don't want to tell people, hey, we're fixing the roads. We're spending your money to fix the roads and then not actually fix them. I don't want to put out the projects. I want to have very solid goals and say, our goal this year is to take care of this many square feet, or this many, we have miles, so how many miles are we going to be able to handle? How many, I want to have very solid plans, very solid goals, and if things go up, like what we dealt with this year, if the costs go up to do that, then we pull off some of it and say we can only accomplish this because the costs have gone up. But we need to have that as a very thorough, planned, and program with accountability in it. And then if we don't spend it for whatever reason, if we have to defer it, then we need to carry those fund balances over for projects approved but not completed, so that we don't just let that money disappear. I think that it needs to stay where it is so that we can go back and reapproach it. We can add money to it in the following budget, but we really need to be tracking those a lot better. Otherwise, to Councilwoman Martinez's point before about some of the power things, we're just kicking it down the road. And I think that level of accountability of earmarking and specifying where that money is going for, what that money is going for, is imperative. I've talked about this before, leveraging the growth to improve life for existing residents. So the growth, it is a burden to all of us. It's a burden because we're covering up some beautiful property that I have personally enjoyed looking at and experiencing, and a lot of it's getting covered up. The traffic is horrendous. I don't even need to comment on the traffic. So there's always going to be impact of growth that's coming. And so what we need to do is leverage that growth to improve the life for the existing residents. As we start bringing in the incremental tax revenue from those, we need to reinvest that and figure out ahead of time how we're going to, based on our forecast, where we're going to allot that money to be able to increase the quality of the streets, how we're going to increase our utility systems, because we do have revenue coming from all of this. Not committing money right now for what's going to happen later, but anticipating it, forecasting it. And this is what I said, incremental increases. So like when you look at, we talked a couple of weeks ago about what businesses actually bring here. And with the property values increasing, the businesses are, actually the value of the businesses is pretty substantial. They don't have the same exemptions, the property tax exemptions as the homes do, and they bring in additional sales tax revenue. So I think that we need to start looking at, as we forecast that, we take the money that is coming out of it right now, set a baseline, and start taking the additional, every year when we look at the additional, that is what goes to, I mean, obviously, the cost of living increases the inflation rates, but also if we are adding additional businesses, because there will be additional businesses coming with Alsatian Oaks and with some of the other stuff, it will just, by its own nature, it'll start building on top of it itself, and look to where we can leverage that money to increase reliability of the utility systems, increase the beautification. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about some of the stuff that's going on downtown with the downtown revitalization, the historic revitalization. So I think that it's looking at initiatives like that where we can really beautify our city and make it a better place to live. It's a great place already, but I think that we can leverage that to make it even better. But it's ensuring that future residents pay for themselves. We're not talking about doing this on the backs of the people that we represent right now. It is leveraging the people that are coming here and having them pay not just their fair share, but the additional revenue that comes in from that. When we don't have staffing increases, we don't have additional burden on the city staff, that they can handle it, and that's why we're looking at a lot of these automation things. How can we handle that growth without doing incremental increases that are basically a one-for-one? So that's what I really talk about with that. And then the bottom line with this is a lot of the things that we're looking at, and the things I believe that we should be looking at, are customer service. So like with the phone and email requests, better response time from directors, from city administrator, from the people that people are trying to escalate things to. I think that we need to find ways. I mean, these people, they all have jobs, and they have to communicate, and we need to make sure that when people are trying to get answers, they have the ability to do that. So anything to that end, I think, is a very wise investment. Increased ability to service more people without increasing staff. This is what I just talked about. As we start getting that growth, we're working on ensuring that we have scaling units so that we know when we're going to have to add staff, so that we know how much we can absorb with the existing staff, and how we can forecast that very wisely. Information on the website. I've heard more complaints about the website, being able to actually access stuff. People that are trying to do things on our website. And I know that Scott's been looking at different ways that we can do this. And I know that staff, our department heads have looked at different ways. I think this is something that we really need to prioritize to make sure that people can get the information that they need. We're meeting later this week with the chamber to see if there's ways that we can partner with them on upcoming events, on things that people need to know about, but also with access to common forums and getting people through that and looking at the actual navigability of that. I think that any investment that we make in those areas is very wise. The next three are really about utilities. So the first three were kind of across the board. The other ones, fewer utility outages. We've had some substantial utility outages. We have an aging infrastructure. The stuff is old, and it's failing, and it's not well documented. And so I think that as we start looking at on the enterprise fund with the utility rates or with the utility capital improvements, I think that we need to prioritize that according to how large of an impact we can have. What do we do to make our utility system more reliable? We're making lots of steps that are very long-term, but there are still some things that we need to be doing right now. I think about with the water systems, putting in the proper cutoff valve so that we don't have citywide outages again. With any of the systems that we have, with the water supply systems, what we found out during Snowmageddon was that not only the one thing, and I think that Herb, you had pushed for this when you were on council, the generators over for the lift station, we would have been in a heap of mess. I mean, quite literally, and I'm saying that very nicely without being completely blunt, if that would have gone out during the Snowmageddon, my house would have stunk pretty bad. So, and the rest, it's one thing to not have water for a short period of time. You can go and find the water, but for the sewers not to work, that's a very bad thing, very stinky thing. But with the other ones, we couldn't even hook the generators up to the water systems. They froze up, and we had outages. So we need to look at least putting in the connections. Herb is actually recommending, based on his experience with dealing with these, that they're not manual, they're automatic. We want to make sure that we're keeping our folks safe. So he's expressed some very insightful areas that we need to take a look at. So these are the kind of areas that I think that we would be very prudent to look at. Better communication where there are outages. We had an outage in Country Village, what was it, about a week ago? Mm-hmm. And we weren't able to send out an iInfo report because we had one person on vacation, the other person we couldn't reach, and we don't have that great ability. So I'm getting calls at midnight. So if I get calls at midnight, then Scott gets calls at midnight, and John gets calls at midnight. I'm just sharing the wealth, just trying to be helpful and share in the pain with you.
I do have a question about that.
Yeah.
That goes back to standards. The outage was an hour long in duration.
Yep. I believe that any outage.
My question is,
I thought it was
do
longer
we
than
issue an
that.
iInfo to the entire city? Because that's the only. Now, if we do AMI, which is a significant investment, which most likely requires some type of rate enhancement.
Yep.
I got text messages.
Yeah. But that would have to go to the entire city at 10:30 at night for an outage that lasted an hour long.
Right.
Is it appropriate? We didn't do it because we thought it was inappropriate. We didn't do it because for the reasons you just stated.
Mm.
But looking back on it,
You actually want to burden everybody.
Yeah.
But there wasn't any information, when I first called over to Public Works to find out what was going on, I got a busy signal.
Right.
There was no information on the website. I mean, they'd have access over their phones, but there's no notification system at all. So the people that are there, it's going on and off, multiple times. I think it was 4 times in an hour. They didn't know what was going on. They had no communication. They didn't know that we knew what was going on. They didn't know if anybody had been dispatched. Like, there was zero communications about that. So I think that especially because we've had so many issues with our utility systems, we have to find a better way to communicate. And I get what you're saying about not burdening everybody, because I don't like those midnight texts. So are we really going to do that every time there's an outage? Good point. But we've got to find some way to be able to do that.
See, it's like, the power goes out, you go out in the street, and all of a sudden the neighbors are out here, what's going on? And of course, one of them was Russell Ware. I met him in the middle of the street at 2 o'clock in the morning one time, because of course he has a cooler back there for the deceased bodies. And so it's a big concern for him. But you see other people coming out. So as Darren says, to me, yes, we need to notify them, send out a notification if it's an hour-long outage, because people don't know. And the first thing they do is get on the phone and call, and then the phone's busy, and then we're getting hit with the fees we get for receiving those calls in the middle of the night. So I think we need to just stay on top of it. Like Todd says, I get an email and I get a text message, and if I get it at 2 o'clock in the morning, I read it and I say, oh, well, that's great, and they're working on it.
At least you have an answer.
Yeah,
Right.
I think we do need to stay on top.
That's good feedback. That's what I wanted to hear. So it's good feedback.
And I would rather people complain about getting the night text messages, honestly, than complain about not knowing
Not
what's
getting
going on.
anything.
It can be a scary thing if you, especially with these intermittent outages. There's some pretty expensive appliances out there that will go bad with
Well, we have
these things
people
happening.
that with medical conditions that are on dialysis,
Right.
little kids that have to be on breathing apparatus when they're sleeping at night. I mean, power goes out, that,
They need to know what's going on.
yeah.
Yeah. Do I need to go hook up the generator?
Yeah, exactly.
And then the last one is robust mechanism to ensure that they're available. During during the trampoline NATO. During the big windstorm, we had lost some of that communication. And so, that is something that we've been working with the county on. But these items, we need to make sure that we have redundancy built into the systems, into the people, so that we have that available. Again, I'm not preaching about these. I'm not saying that we don't know what's going on with any of these. We are making measures for these. I just want to let you know, these are the things that I'm approaching because I feel that they're very important, that we're concentrating on these items, that we're not, I'd rather talk about them. I know I'm going too long already. I'm talking about it too much, but I want to make sure that we are communicating, that it is being explored, and these are the things that I feel are very important. All right, that's it on that. St. Louis Day was, I would say it was an amazing success. It's about 70 to 80% of normal turnout at Koenig Park for the event. They sold more to-go plates at Braden Keller Center than ever before. Takes a lot of people to make this thing happen. So, and there's Phil right front and center.
I'm going to use that for my campaign photo.
There you go.
The ball-headed guy.
So you can see top left is the Alsatian dancers. On the top right was the line to get the food. All the people that it took to serve this, and these are all from Koenig Park. And then the bottom left is the silent auction. And thankfully, my wife was only successful in getting the purses and not a plethora of other things.
3,500 pounds of brisket and 2,200 pounds of sausage.
Isn't that amazing?
Hey, back up your photo one. I got to give Sadie, little Sadie Babe there, the little girl. I mean, she's 4 years old. She danced the dances.
Really?
I mean, she
The one with the
danced
green
the
dress?
steps. Little green dress, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's several of them. Nico is the other one. Josh Kemp's son was in there, and they aren't there for just show. They actually, these 4-year-olds know the steps.
I bet y'all gonna work up a sweat.
It was a little wet there.
In August, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, thank you.
Great, no, thank you, I appreciate that. That was a good time,
Oh, looky there.
and the fire was good.
Religious fire.
So,
Good pictures.
Father Bernard came in and did the lighting. He was in for Dorothy's celebration, and he was able to do this. There's the fire as it started taking up on the right, and then all the smokers. It's such an impressive sight to see how many people have to come together to make this stuff happen.
A lot of work.
And then we had a little pizza.
Golly.
So this is not the world record. This is only an 8-foot pizza.
Only an 8-footer.
Yep, this is the Keaton's nephew that does this. He actually, I believe he holds the world record. This is a barbecue-fired pizza, and he also has a 12-foot, which is the world record. It is it's like a big pit smoker, but it's made specifically for pizzas. And I think I did not get it
Pizza's
in
good on
once.
a pellet smoker,
And this
I'm
was
telling you.
my favorite right here. She's like, I need some of that. The brisket was actually really, really good. All right, so
Interesting.
great. It was a great success. It was good to see people, and I'm glad that they were able to find it happily and safely. Labor Day, I was going to have something for this, and I really don't. But city offices will be closed on September 6th, and everybody have a safe and happy Labor Day. And then our last item. So I'm going to introduce this. Councilman Dyer, are you okay with handling it? Can I hand this off to you? Sure. Okay. So now, what I'm going to ask Herb to do, the reason that I'm talking about Herb doing this, he has been he's been the biggest supporter, I believe, of getting some of this organized swimming, getting a swimming complex where our kids can actually get not just the ability to swim, but club swim, and really opening up some opportunities. My daughter had a good portion of her college paid for. She got an academic scholarship and a swimming scholarship, so I know that it's a phenomenal, the swimming scholarship was actually more than the academic scholarship. So there's definitely, it's lots of benefits for our kids. The Parks Board did have a recommendation on this, so I want to cover that. But I also want to go into what Councilman Dyer is, I guess it would be a proposal. It's kind of a dream that I feel can become a reality. But I wanted him to have the opportunity to just talk about that, and we'll come back in a subsequent council meeting so he can go a little bit more in depth. But Herb, please.
Okay. First of all, as the mayor said, this was all scheduled to be discussed at our meeting on Thursday. But the Parks and Rec Board had a meeting and sent a document into us with a recommendation, and the mayor wanted that recommendation to be heard in a meeting. And so I asked him, having read the recommendation, if it would be appropriate to go ahead and present the flip side argument, and so he's given me a few minutes to do that. So what I'll do first of all is I'm going to cover the 7 recommendations that the Parks and Rec Board made regarding heating the pool. First of all, they recommend that we develop a partnership between the city, Medina Valley Independent School District, other governmental and non-governmental groups, and build a new indoor swimming complex. Second recommendation, please do not allocate any city funds to add a heating system to this swimming pool complex. Do not repeat past mistakes. Number 3, please do not allocate any city funds to make any major repairs to this swimming pool complex prior to receiving an engineering study to evaluate the cost to demolish these buildings, design a new community center on this site. The new community center should include an enclosed pool, changing rooms, meeting area, and offices. Number 4, now is the time to build a new indoor swimming pool complex. Number 5, immediately start a property search for a new swimming pool complex. Number 6, if the engineer's demolition and rebuild study is feasible, then any property that we find during the search could be used for some other portion of the sports complex that's going to be recommended in the long-term plan, which is currently not discussed anywhere. So this is new information. Number 7, maintain the current pool as a seasonal, summer use only pool until a new swimming pool complex is built. And I noticed Patrick Connor is here in the back, so I would just ask if anybody has any questions about their recommendations. If the mayor wishes, maybe he might want to address them. If you could
Well, I
pass
think
me
that
the
we-
cable down, I'll get set up for the next piece.
Okay, well, I just want to make sure that we're moving through this fairly quickly, so I just want to introduce this right now, and then we can go into more depth, go more in depth in a subsequent meeting. Is that right?
Sure.
Okay.
I just need to get a cable.
We're just trying to figure out where this is on the agenda.
This is part of the mayor's report, and I'm just asking him to cover that portion of it. This is
No, I
on
just don't
the,
have a copy of that at all on the recommendation. I was trying to find it.
Patrick had sent it over.
Okay.
Now you do.
Okay. Sorry, I don't know what to write.
How do I do this? Turn my PowerPoint on. Okay, I got PowerPoint. I set it up for slideshow from the beginning. And how do I get this up there?
So,
Yeah, I think, well, the agenda says diving exhibition, but not full subjects.
I bet you that thing doesn't
Oh.
have a driver on there.
no, this is item B.
It's on B under the mayor.
Okay.
Oh.
We skipped around.
Yeah,
Okay,
sorry, I
gotcha.
skipped around.
I just wanted to copy this, so when I do my minutes, I'll see what.
Great, all right, thank you.
I was at the bottom of the list.
Same here.
He skipped that.
You did, you went right by it.
You gotta be quiet when you pay attention.
Just, yeah, I think it's just nice.
Yeah, you gotta be glad that we're kind of a lighthearted service.
I am glad about that.
It helps.
Is that my
That
screen?
should be your screen, yeah.
Let's go back here.
There you go.
There you go.
That's her.
Oh, is it?
Okay.
Okay, good.
F5.
All right. Then did we-
Slideshow.
Hit, there you go, got it.
Okay,
All
good.
right.
All right. Now, I'm going to turn now and talk about the opposite side of the argument, because it's never been presented before to the city council. It's going to be discussed on Thursday at length, so I'm just going to give you just a very short overview. I can figure out how to do this. Make the slides go. Oh, here we go. Slide 1. Okay.
I just need to remind you, because the agenda item is, I think I left it a little bit too narrow, I apologize for that. So this is, let's just make sure that it maintains that correlation to the
Heated pool.
Parks Board recommendation?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
This is exactly the opposing view. It only talks about heating the pool. The pool, as everybody knows, is just open during the summer because it's not heated. Lots of customers use the pool in the summer, and we think they'd use them in the winter. And a lot of families really rely on the pool. Of course, they wouldn't use it so much in the winter, but they might still use it. And we do know we have a lot of seniors in our town that rely on the pool, and many of them have already come to me and said they would swim all year round if the pool were available. And of course, our pool does provide venues for private parties and pool parties and lessons, so those could be done year-round. We've tried before to heat the pool, and we've not been successful, and we're going to give it another shot. Why should we heat the pool, and why should we put it into the capital project? Very briefly, we believe the pool is a very essential part of the services that we provide to the community, and we want to keep the pool available longer. It's critical to our high school and to all the teams that they produce. And they're going to start having a winter polo team, so there's going to be needs year-round for them. Private clubs come to us, and they're willing, they want to participate. This is how they grow programs. You give them the facility, and they start working on growing things. And they'll pay their fair share. Of course, I already mentioned seniors. And in the future, when we talk about making the Castroville Community Complex, you're going to hear more about an indoor pool. And this would help us to gain support for that. The biggest question that we've been unable to answer for the last 3 years when this comes up is how much will it cost to heat the pool? So this year we engaged a professional engineer to help us, and we did a study, and we've decided that we can heat the pool at a reasonable cost, and I'm going to show you in the next slide the details of the study. But we have to first of all decide how we want to heat it, so the city staff has to have an opportunity to look at the solutions, and there's a variety of different kinds of solutions, so they got to pick out a solution that they feel is best. And then we have to think about, okay, we got a heated pool now. We got to have more money in the budget to run it, because we're going to run it 12 months a year instead of 6. So we got to look. The city has to look at the budget and come to the council and tell us how much more money they would need in the budget. But we do know that we're going to need at least $11,600 for natural gas. That's what it's going to cost us for a year to run the pool year-round. We also know that it's harder to get lifeguards in the winter, so it may cost us a little more money. And we all know we've got a lot of damage that we have to fix, and we don't yet know how much it's going to cost. How did we figure out $11,600? Now, there's a little formula up there, and I'm sure Phil's already checking my math, but there is a way to calculate how much gas you're going to burn, and we went through that process, and there's a huge amount of data behind this chart that's available for anybody who wants to study it. But basically, we're going on the assumption that we currently don't have a set of pool covers, and so the cost is going to be around $11,600 for the gas. And the computation for how it's done is there. About 21,436 cubic feet of gas a year would be used. So, and we're going to discuss with the city ways that we might create municipal utility rates when the time comes. So maybe we can get the price down. So what we're recommending is that we select the best method, have the city tell us how they want to heat the pool once they get all the opportunities to look, approve somewhere, we're guessing, between $75,000 and $125,000, depending on which type of system they want to purchase and have installed, and then figure out a way to increase next year's budget, probably in the neighborhood of doubling what it is now. figure out a way to get lifeguards, and usually pool clubs and pool teams normally have a lot to do with lifeguards. They usually build that into their equation, and they usually come with offers of assistance and sharing costs. So there's a lot of opportunities for the city to look at lifeguards. They got to fix the damage, and then we've got to coordinate with all the partners. We've already initiated discussion with Dr. Rohrbach. We're waiting for an opportunity to meet with him, and unfortunately, we're not going to get that before Thursday, but we'll get it soon, and we'll come back to the city with the details. So, thank you very much. I figure out how to turn this off now. Guess I could just unplug it, right?
Yes, you can play it.
Great, thank you.
Do we have any other presentations tonight?
I don't have any more. So the last item that's on here, will you pass that back over to him?
No, I'm good.
The last item that was on here was about the diving exhibition at the regional park, and I didn't have any kind of documentation on that. That is this Thursday at the regional park. It's a diving
6 to 8 p.m.
6 to 8 p.m. We do have the budget workshop, but we're trying to get out in time because
Jeez, I hope so.
I know, it's a long day. So please, if you get a chance, go down and take a look at it. It's going to be really, really cool.
6 o'clock is streets, isn't it?
What's that?
They canceled you.
They canceled me.
You got vetoed?
Nobody told me that.
Oh, sorry.
You're canceled. I'm very sorry, Paul.
Okay.
So I'll work on it tomorrow.
We knew that you had some time to perfect. All right, so next item is consider and take appropriate action on review of proposals and awarding a bid for the USDA Rural Development T-Hanger Building and Pavement Project.
Yeah. This project has been on the carousel for a little while. I think it was conceived of sometime last year. The original estimated cost was in the range of $900,000, which rents on the building would easily sustain. As this year has unfolded, 2021, we've seen significant cost increases in materials, et cetera. We didn't panic. We did re-estimate our costs through the engineering firm KSA. They're I won't say Air Force, but their airport planning group. And they increased it by about $250,000, so we're a little over $1.1 million. And that's what we were hoping to get when we bid this out. Unfortunately, however, the lowest qualified bid that we received was $1,440,000. That bid, so the cost I told you about before included all the soft costs. The total cost is 1.1 with soft costs included. This bid is just for construction. So we've already blown our 1.1 just on cost of construction. Our rents are insufficient to pay the note for $1.4 million. They will not pay. We have additional soft costs, including if we estimate 5% for contingency, which is being probably, it's probably okay for this type. It's not an overly complicated project. Normally I like to have 10% for contingency to give yourself a nice wide berth if there's an issue. But 5% is probably acceptable. It's about $75,000. We have about $200,000 in soft costs that we need to cover as well. So your total coverage is about 1.6. We have gone back to the lowest bid contractor to look at what can we do to shave costs out. There's really not a lot of VE that can be done. However, he thinks he can do just through some efficiencies of scale and how he approaches the apron part of the project and some other things. He might be able to get about $100,000 out of that bid, that low bid of 1.4. So we got that to 1.3 and change. There are some other things that we can do, but we still just can't get down to that lowest rate. So, tonight, I think the action that I would like to ask council to do is to award the bid to the lowest qualified bidder with the understanding that staff will have to find a mechanism to fund it. The reason I say that, so in other words, we're awarding, you're giving staff the permission to award the bid, but only if we're able to actually figure out a way to fund this where this airport can pay for it. The reason I say that is we have a meeting with the USDA this Thursday
Obviously, I will not be able to be at that meeting because I'll have your attention on Thursday all day. Staff and our consultants, consultant partners, so Chuck Friesenhahn and the KSA group will be on that conversation. USDA has an alternate recommendation. What they're recommending is that we stagger the loan in 2 tranches. So the first tranche would be in an amount that can be supported by the rents. The second tranche would be the excess amount, and that would be payable after the first tranche is completely paid off.
Interesting.
So that's workable. I would like to see how that's going to play out and how many years we're talking about and that kind of thing. That is one solution. There is another solution. There's actually at least 2 that I can think of. The delta is $600,000 between what we can afford with our rents and what we can't. The city has plenty of money in its coffers. If there is a way for the city to get paid back, made whole, in a reasonable period of time, 4 or 5 years, utilizing airport grant monies, there's NPE funds that basically it's a fuel surcharge that all airports charge that legally has to come back to the use of the airport. We are allowed to use up to $150,000 per year of NPE funds. We are allowed to not spend any of those for a maximum period of 4 years, to let it build up to $600,000, and then utilize those funds. If we were to do that and basically pay ourselves back, that would be one way to make this happen. I have to check into the legalities of how that would play out. But again, I think what we're looking for is let's accept the bid on the caveat that we haven't figured out how we're going to pay for it, and we aren't going to enter into a contract with that bidder until we do figure out how to pay for it. Or we can just bring it alternatively. I just didn't want to extend the time frame.
Is there a reason that we need to approve that right now?
I don't want to extend the time frame. I want it, if we do figure out a way to pay for it, that where it's a guaranteed payment, if you want to look at it that way, and we can cover our costs. I'd like to be able to pull the trigger on that. My concern is rising costs and getting this guy tied up, like getting the contract approved before we see even more escalation. We know that we have a 6-month window. Now, the alternate option is to simply walk away. There is some sunk cost in walking away. The good news is that we can pay for 50% of that sunk cost with the use of ramp grants in the current fiscal year. So before October 1st, we could pay, we owe about $67,000 in soft costs, engineering fees, bond counsel, and that kind of stuff that's already been expended on the project. That would be sunk until and when we do the project, right? So that's the alternative. It's not. It's kind of a distasteful alternative because we all want to see the airport expand and grow, and obviously fuel sales play a part in this. There are other revenue sources that may come if people park their commercial jets there. We get taxes on that as long as they're not a not-for-profit and it's not for personal use. So unfortunately, I don't have great information because this all took place at the end of last week. The bid opening did. And we've been working with our consultants to try and get a better answer on how to fund it, and we just don't have everything nailed down at this point.
I just, and something I think we should also be very clear about is the reason that this has gotten delayed for so long is not because any of city staff was delaying this. We haven't been sitting on our hands. We've been waiting for the USDA to come back and just do some really simple things that they just took a long time doing.
Yeah, we lost about 6 months, more or less, in red tape. And it's not like they were asking for something we hadn't delivered. If they asked for anything, we had it to them within 48 hours generally. So anything they asked for, we got right back to them, but it still took an incredibly long time.
Yeah, so I do support looking at this if we are 100%. The airport has got to be standalone. I mean, it is standalone. It's got to be standalone. We've had some intermingling before. I don't like that idea. I like if it is fully supported by the rates, by whatever is coming out of the airport, then I think that would be something prudent. So I would support something like that. But if we're going to put taxpayer money, if we're going to tie that up, things that we need to be spending on infrastructure, the things that we just talked about a little while ago, I think that we ought not do that. Let's have a discussion on that. We'll start with District 1.
I would be more towards seeing what the USDA options are, what they recommend before, like Darren says, pulling the trigger. As far as taxpayer, of course, our airport has different rules because it used to be a military installation, so we have to watch those rules and make sure we don't cross them, type of thing. So I'm more for, let's see what USDA says.
All right.
Paul, go for it.
I have seen in the last 3-4 months, building material prices start to come back down, and I'm thinking that a lot of what we're seeing in this cost escalation is the cost of steel. Right now, steel is outrageous. I priced some 12-foot pipe the other day, and they were going to cost me $100 a piece. And I think that as manufacturing gets ramped back up, we're going to see some building materials costs come down. I don't know that that influences whether or not we pull the trigger on this, but if we pull the trigger on this, then and those costs come down, our contractor sees we'll be making quite a bit of profit. So I'm reluctant.
Councilman King?
I guess in reality, you're going to have this meeting on Thursday, you guys are going to digest it, you're going to research. You're talking about at least 2 weeks to be able to come up with an answer on yourself. So city council meeting's in 3 weeks, right?
On 14th, yeah.
Yeah, so it's only an extra week. And
Right.
I really feel uncomfortable in, okay, go out and do it, but whatever funding mechanism you come up with, we're okay with, because we may not agree with your funding mechanism.
Well, you have to come back and approve the USDA anyway, but I agree with you. I don't,
Yeah. Because it's only
If I were
talking about
making a
an extra
motion, I'd
week.
alter my motion and say, you know what, let's just wait till the 14th. But I'm just letting you know, this is kind of the current state of things.
Oh, and I like your aggressive financing approaches and examples, and I hope something how we can do that. The first one's cleaner. You're just extending your loan out. But yeah, to me, I think, let's just discuss it at the next meeting.
Yeah. I think it's really positive the way that you're looking at this from all angles, not as a, we must do this, so we've got to figure out a way to do it, but really, what are our options? And that's, I think that's doing your due diligence. That's great.
Related to this, before I turn it over, some of these numbers, 1,000 to 147,000 to hook up
There's
people
price fluctuation.
to connect to electric service. The
Outliers.
low bidder has 1,000. Two of the people are at 147,000, 118,000. Someone wasn't reading the plans right or something.
Yeah, very
But
possible.
the low guy, he's come back and confirmed that because I'd hate for him to say, oh crap, I forgot something.
Yeah, I need another
Yeah.
$200,000.
Did we get, did KSA actually vetted it, right? They qualified, so they qualified it. So I will tell you this, one of the things they said at the bid opening with the other bidders present was that that Jackson is the low bidder. They've done multiple projects with this developer, with this builder, and they have a very good rapport and very high level of confidence that they're capable of doing it. They've already locked in, so when you look at suppliers for the steel for the actual building, when you have to buy American and you're doing an aviation project, there's really only a couple like houses that do those full builds. And I can't remember the name of the one they're using, but they've already got that contract locked up that Jackson does, so their price is good for 6 months, and that's why we know that we have a 6-month window. So I know you had a very high degree of confidence, but yes, Bill, that's the kind of BS that cities deal with when we're doing public bids, because we have all the money apparently, and we
Well,
get-
no, I don't mind. What I'm worried about is that the low bidder, all of a sudden, but if he's
Let's go.
confirmed his bid and he's willing to live with this, and he's not going to come back and tell us that, oh crap, I forgot something. Because I've seen that happen a lot,
Sure.
where they have to step out. But anyway, that's it. But if KSA's looked at that for us, I'm happy.
Councilman Schuhart?
That would be a concern of mine, that we don't value engineer this thing.
Well, there's not much to do to VE it. From a project standpoint, what we really talked about was timing with the construction and some of the other aspects that are in the control of the builder. but without actually changing the scope. So
Well,
there's
you
not
took-
much scope to change. really.
I know you said KSA has a lot of confidence in this low bid, but I've never heard of these guys before, and neither have I heard the second bunch of guys, and we got 2 locals bidding. Have we gotten anything from the advisory board on any kind of recommendation?
Yeah, they did not, ended up not meeting last night, so they haven't seen
Yeah.
the bids yet.
No, I realize that. I just wondered if there was anything previous to that, because I missed the meeting before.
The bids were only delivered last week, so
Oh.
they wouldn't have had the.
They
the first
didn't have a
opportunity would been
chance
last
to.
night, yeah.
Well, it says in this, in our information that KSA is in the process of qualifying the lowest bid.
That's what was, that was true at the time that was written, but.
Oh, it's not true, no, it's
Yeah,
already
they
been
qualified the
done.
bid, so as of tonight, the bid's been qualified. Correct? We have that in mind?
Wow, there's a lot of
I haven't seen that
discrepancies
email.
in these numbers.
You may not have your copy, do you have your copy of the letter from, or did I give you one?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's the letter they sent out.
That was that
this
email?
morning,
Okay.
The letter that.
I lied.
I have the same concerns the other council members have.
Yep. All right. Councilman Dyer?
I think if delaying it to the next meeting is feasible, if it doesn't put us in jeopardy, I think that would be wiser to come back after you've had the meetings. Because this is 121% over the estimated cost. And like you say, we got a lot of money already invested. We don't want to lose that.
Great. Okay. So I think that we're not taking any action on, you don't need to take any action there?
No.
Okay.
We're
Great.
back on the 14th of September.
And if it gets into a situation where we just need to pull the trigger on something, we can look at doing a specially called if people can support that. But
I don't think it'll be necessary. We have
Yeah, I don't
90
think so.
days before, from a USDA standpoint, you have to rebid. So we do have to act on the bids within a time frame, but we're well within that, so I'm not worried about that. It's more about the limited options that are available to us, and I just wanted to be candid with you about what those options are, but I have no problem waiting for the 14th.
Appreciate it. All right, thank you. All right, let's see, next item is, and make sure I get this one right. Consider and take appropriate action on approving task order number 10 for Respec Engineering to assist in the bid process for construction of Alsatian Oaks off-site water plant improvements.
So you have everything in the packet. I really don't have much to add. I
6:20.
know.
Don't you normally say that? I forget.
Oh, timestamp?
Yeah.
I meant to remind them.
I keep forgetting about my timestamp. 6:20.
I'll keep whispering in your ear.
What's that?
Hi.
I'm trying to timestamp it so that if people are trying to go back and look at it in the video.
I got you.
find it easier. Okay.
So I don't really have anything to add beyond what's in your folder. This is for the water plant improvements by the bank. So that's, believe it or not, I've just got the final version of the land transfer, the deed for that land from the bank. I've signed my copy. It's gone back to them for their signature, and they have to go to the title to close. So how many months ago was that? But just FYI, things move slowly. So, but that is where that construction will take place, is at that site. And another FYI, since the freeze, one of the scope changes to that project has been to enclose it. So it was, right now it's currently outdoor, and that was one of the issues at all of the outdoor lifts, or pump stations. We have one there, we have one at Lions Park, we have one at the well site over kind of by the cemetery down the hill. Everything froze, some of that, we had all kinds of issues. So enclosing them will make that, it doesn't make it foolproof, but it helped greatly. The one that did the best was the one right here by City Hall, and it is a concrete bunker. So that had something to do with that.
All right.
If we have to have somebody overseeing this, Russell's my pick.
And it is being advertised now, so.
All right.
Yeah, so they are doing all the offsite for these agreements.
All right, let's go, open up to discussion. Councilman Dyer?
This is just for the task order for Respect? Is that
Respec, yes.
Okay.
The engineering.
I just want to comment, I've been following this very, very closely, and Respect has done a whale of a job for us. They have really gone out over and above. And this has been difficult because Texas Water Development Board and TCEQ have taken an inordinately long time to, and they keep coming back with more and more requests, And every time, respect steps up and gets it done quickly, and I really want to compliment them, and I think this is well-deserved, and I would fully support it.
Great. Councilman Schurer?
No comment on top of what Councilman Herb said.
All right. Great.
I'd like to make a motion.
All right.
I'd like to make a motion that the city council, that we approve task order 10 to have respect assist the city in the bidding process for construction of Alsatian Oak water treatment improvements in accordance to the contract submitted.
I will second that as my comment.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
I thought we went that way.
All right, number 12, consider and take appropriate action on authorizing the city administrator to enter into a contract for the purchase of a Jack kiosk. So I just want to remind people.
625?
This is 6:22, just 2 minutes after the other one. We're moving through this good. And I just want to remind people that we should not be looking at these things as individual, like, items as, like, this is a whiz-bang, it's a nifty gadget. This is an attempt to make better customer service available to folks, to free up folks, to achieve some of those goals that we were looking at. So, go ahead.
Well, so we've seen this several times. I don't have a presentation. I didn't bring another presentation on the asphalt zipper or anything else, in part because we are going to have the retreat on Thursday, and I figured we'd cover some of those items then. I didn't want to make this unnecessarily long. One of the issues the last time we brought the kiosk forward was where we're going to put it. You asked me to look at several different options. I would be completely candid with you, Herb. I looked briefly at the option you brought forward at City Hall, but when I started looking at that space, my major issue is it's under a stairwell. Well, there's not insufficient electricity. We'd have to put basically a computer in there, and then we have to keep that thing cool. So then we have to put an AC in it through a concrete wall. It's just it's less than ideal for a lot of different reasons.
Thanks for looking at it.
So I didn't spend a whole lot of time on it, but I did go back to the library. I gave you all an estimate of what that drive would cost, but really I think I said at the time, I'm pulling a number out of the air that I know is inaccurate, mainly because I just want to know, do you want to do it or not? And then we'll try to get the best price we can. So between the last meeting and this meeting, I've looked more at the library locations. I really like the pull-through option, that drive-through option. I think it would, the community would respond very well to having that access. Right now, we really don't have that type of access for the book drop. The drive, an asphalt drive, I think it's a 2-inch, I don't know exactly, but I believe it's a 2-inch compacted drive is like $8,000, and then we're going to get a 15 by 16 concrete pad that's where the vehicle would sit. It would be tall enough. It would be state reg. We'd have to replace the awning. So I've still got to get the cost estimate for the awning and the cost estimate for the concrete. But using some nice round figures, I think it's going to be less than $25,000 total to make all of those improvements to the library to allow for the pull-through. And that includes installing the kiosk. And the kiosk is $36,000 by itself. But I'm kind of back to the same question I had before. Now, we could also do it internally. I did not get pricing on the doors, so you're probably looking at about $8,000 to put it inside the building. There are trade-offs, right? We'd have to create a secure area inside the building. If we put it in that walkway entry area, we'd have to find places to put all those books and other things. But that is an option, and it's a cheaper option. I just think the drive-through would actually be a service that improve it. I'm talking here. I'm just kidding. You okay? Are you okay? So beyond that, are there questions for me? I'm just planning on bringing this back until y'all tell me yes or no.
Now, earlier you talked about one option would be knock a hole in the wall at the library. And was there somewhere in that building that you could do this? Mm-hmm. And you looked at that and you found a space in the building, or there's just no space?
No, there is. That's the $8,000 option. That's on the entry. When you first walk into that building, right there as you walk in, there's some books, there's some DVD shelves on the right. They're very thin shelves. Those are actually in front of the old doorway. So what we do is remove probably most of those shelves. We might leave some space for some of them, and we'd use that old existing doorway, and that's where this machine would go. But that also impacts the shelving on the other side. On the reverse side, there's books and some other things. So that would be another area that'd be impacted. The back of the machine is not nearly as pretty as the front of the machine. It's and it's a secure access. Now granted, it's a lockable thing. I'm not worried about people necessarily tampering with it in the library. We'd have cameras and that sort of thing, but it'd be sticking out a little. It would be unattractive.
Unattractive.
So this wouldn't be like in the wall like Broadway National Bank. As you walk up to Broadway National Bank, there's one right there from the outside, and you don't go inside at all. But so you're not talking about that?
No, I'm not. The inside version, and part of this is your equipment's going to last a whole lot longer if you can put it inside the building.
This is in. Right. Have you been to the Broadway National Bank here in town?
Which one is it?
Across from September
Right
Square.
down the street.
No, I've not been to that one.
If you walk up to their doors, under their
Under the canopy. Right.
canopy, there's a ATM machine there, which is what we're talking about.
Right.
And so it's inside the building, it's just at the front face
Right.
is where people.
So
can
yeah,
put
there's an
it
option.
inside.
There is on the in the portico area. There is a room to the east. That's there. That's where they have projects and things like that. Engineering camps and stuff like that in that little room. So yeah, you could go through the outer wall on the outside and put it there. You'd still want to put cameras and that sort of thing.
We don't have the cooling and power considerations there that we would have here.
No, because you're going into a cooled and air-conditioned space.
Right.
You know, one thing that I think is really positive about putting it on the side with the book drop is that is visible from True Value, it's visible from Highway 90, it's going to be a very visible project. If we stick it, my fear with, I mean, this is an investment. I think that it's a positive investment. I think this will help us in a number of different areas, but if you hide it in the library, I think that you'll have much less usage of it. And so I think it might actually create some additional problems if it's not fully visible.
Yeah.
So having it on the side, and the difference between what we had talked about, we have to redo some of that awning anyway. So that's not even really a part of this. It's just, it would be sped up by this process. But the difference between doing it just as a walk-up on the side of it in that same location versus doing the drive is, you said that portion of it alone is about $8,000 for the drive portion.
Just
Inside walk-up option.
You got to do the awning.
8,000.
Whatever the awning cost is, we'll just put that at 15.
Right.
And put the concrete pad at 5. So now
Drive-through
you're at
option
28.
35 to
It's around
50.
25 is what I would estimate.
35 to 50,000.
If you got any chance of the elderly using this thing, I'm thinking you need to do the drive-through option.
Yeah.
I just like that as an enhancement to the book drop. I just think it gives greater service level to the library. But I'll be honest, Phil, your idea of putting it outdoors, where it's facing the outdoor, you can do that. Again, weather can be an issue with these things, so I'm a little bit concerned about that. Putting it under an awning on a easterly face, it's protected from 99% of this crap that comes through there. Very rarely you're gonna
The
have
sun wouldn't be
issues.
as bad of it on
No,
it.
so that's what I'm saying, put it on that side, you'd probably be better off than putting it facing the west on the outside of the building under that
Not good.
portico. But that is an option, and it wouldn't be $8,000 because you wouldn't have to put in the door, the secured doors and all that. You'd just be punching a hole in that wall, basically.
To make sure
So that'd
the
be about a
sun-
$2,500 install. So it's considerably cheaper, but I would be worried about,
The sun,
again,
the sun will
yeah,
be
all the
LCD
issues that you're
screen.
gonna have on that
Yeah.
machine.
You ever been to a red box without the little flap on
You
it?
can go to the
And they
Shell
do have
station.
that. On these, they have that. They have this magnetic thing that it opens and
What's
closes.
a red box?
This old thing, it was right after Blockbuster.
They're
Never
extinct.
used one.
Yeah, you go up and rent movies. They're outside. There's one right outside Walmart here in Greenville.
A red box.
I
What do
do.
you buy out of a red
You
box?
get a DVD. It's like Netflix.
It's the newest version of Blockbuster.
Yes.
It's like,
Go around the lady.
So that's the kiosk discussion.
It's like a
Barbecue pit.
Blockbuster kiosk.
And again, I'll bring this back as many times as we need to, just to get a yes or no. Do we want to do it, and where do we want to do it? I'm not in a rush.
I'm for a drive-up because of the security measures and the accessibility to those who have limitations physically. I think it's a good option. I think we ought to move forward with it, but I think that it really should be a drive-through.
The only problem I have with the drive-through is you're talking about, $35,000 to $50,000, and I'm not sure the way the city's gonna be growing and other options that we're not gonna need another library building and consolidate facilities and all of a sudden we'd be spending a lot of money for And also, I don't think there's that many people, I mean, right now, they
Yeah,
have
that's
to get
an
out of their car
investment.
to walk up to City Hall to pay their bills now. So the walk up, kind of like again, my examples of Broadway Bank, that if you walk up there and then right here in the wall is the
But they
kiosk.
only do this during business hours. That would be done at all hours of the day and night.
Yeah, but if you have lights and cameras, but even, someone's gonna if you're worried about someone coming and holding a gun on you or something, they can do it from your car as well as they can do it from there. But it just seems like a lot of money for something that might be a short term.
Well, just keep in mind, I don't know how short-term, I've heard no discussion from you all about moving the library or expanding the library. So we will talk about that on Thursday more, sir.
It's been
But
discussed.
that said, I'm going to, purely from an economic development standpoint, the building, that is an enhancement that increases the value of that building if you build a drive-through. Because whatever its future use after it's done being a library, it now has a drive-through. So I don't see that.
For
as
another
being-
chicken shack?
Yeah, we don't, I've said before, we don't have Popeyes, we don't have Chick-fil-A, we have we don't have a Chicken Express, I mean, come on.
So do we want to look at this right now? Do we want to look at it as a part of the CIP? Because ultimately this is, it's a capital improvement. It has some other customer service enhancements, but should we take a look at this as a part of our CIP planning?
So we'll let Scott bring it up again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I think-
I'd miss it if it weren't on the agenda, so.
I support waiting and put this in with all the other capital projects that we're going to look at Thursday and get them prioritized and take an action as part of that overall review. Because if we act tonight and allow this to be purchased, then we're going to have between $36,000 and $60,000 less dollars when we try to prioritize and pay for the capital projects on Thursday. And this may not end up being the number one project, is my only concern. It might be, but maybe it won't be.
For the record, I liked your first two words. I support it. And then you kept talking. No, that's great. Let's do it on Thursday. So I want to bring back Thursday, or bring back?
I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
let's do it
Well,
on
and
Thursday.
I got to be straight about this. I do appreciate you bringing this back. You make great recommendations. I appreciate you giving us some time to work through it, so I think that's good. All right, so no action on that one. Next is consider and take appropriate action on adopting the Economic Development Corporation bylaws. So did anybody get a chance to think through that?
Oh, let me, so I do apologize. So I was out Thursday, my daughter went off to college, and Friday I was consoling
Congrats.
her mother. Working remotely, but consoling. Lots of chocolate was involved. But we did, Deborah and I talked about this, and I just wasn't here to make sure it got in the packet, but we did get responses from our attorney, member Jay. We had some back and forth on the questions that you had after the meeting, so I intended to get these to you early, but I'll simply, the long and short of his back and forth, because you had asked, well, what about membership, is basically the way it was presented is what the state law allows, and that is their strong advice to us to adopt, is because it gives us the maximum flexibility to do what we can do. If what you want to do isn't in there, then we can't do it anyway, and we can't, we wouldn't be able to alter it to. We talked about, well, what if they're business owners and we could allow that, or what if they serve on one of these other, no, none of that. What it says is anybody living within 10 miles of Castroville. I believe that was what the bylaws stated, right? So that's what he would recommend we adopt. You could do anything, that gives you the broadest ability to do what you need to do. But unfortunately, if there's someone who you'd really like to have on a board and they don't meet that requirement, you're not going to be able to put them on board.
Okay.
And
then
we are
if
not trying to seek the board tonight. This is just the bylaw adoption.
Okay.
That'll be the next part, the next meeting.
Yes.
Well, and I think that we can, if we feel that that's important, then we just, we express that through the selection of the board members, so.
And these aren't cut in stone. We can edit the bylaws or modify them at a later date if something comes up.
Not
Within
that-
the tolerance
right.
of the law.
Right.
The board.
Well, the board,
city council.
once the board is seated, they can
We're not
change
we,
their
right,
bylaws.
Not we, but they, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
The EDC board, once it's seated, can change their bylaws.
And they don't need to come back to us if they
Once a
change
year.
their bylaws.
Well, they need to report to us, yeah.
They do have to, so I think that was one of the questions we asked.
Yeah, I think they have to come back to us.
But is it just report to us, or do they have to have our permission?
They can comment?
to change their
Sure.
bylaws?
You remember when we talked about this last time, the lawyer that has, the office that wrote this, made it clear to us that this is trying to provide us every capability that the law allows. And the recommendation from them was, be careful about modifying it, because you might inadvertently cause yourself not to be able to do something that you now can do. So this is pretty lawyerish, but in my opinion, this is what we need. It gives us a good framework to start with, and as we learn more about it, as we go on and we get more experience, we can go back to the lawyers and ask for changes. But I don't believe that the board on their own can change it. They have to come back to us.
So if I may, this is the answer to the question about whether they come back for approval.
They have to.
So, yeah, the answer is the EDC acts as its own entity, but to be clear, EDC expenditures or programs require city approval. So if the EDC board meets to approve some sort of expenditure, city council would need to meet to approve it as well. So you have the EDC meeting, they take their action, just like you would like the P&Z or something else, and it comes here and we authorize it.
Yeah, and Article 4 says that if they change the bylaws, the city council has to approve it.
Right.
There you go.
4B.
And it says be a member of Medina County or 10 miles within the city. So basically, anybody, I'm not sure what.
Well, if we were close, we're only 6 miles from.
Yeah, so we'll go
Medina
4
County,
miles
so
into Bear and the rest of it
4
to
miles into
Medina
Bear
County.
County, right.
Right.
So anybody in Medina County.
Herb, was that a motion to approve?
I'd be happy to make a motion if you want me. Sir. I move we approve the Economic Development Corporation bylaws as written.
Second.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. All right. Staff reports
All right,
is
so
the next
that-
item. At
that-
6:38.
Yeah.
Right on.
Lead him to it.
Just
We'll do it for him.
please begin thinking about names for the EDC board. Please don't just think of those names, but talk to the people. If you have an idea, to make sure that they're willing to serve. We'll be bringing that, I think, on the 14th. Okay, I believe you have some of my notes in front of you, Mayor. On what I gave. I know that the community development, we don't have a report. Sorry. We don't have a report for I didn't report community development, but they did say that there's no ETA on churches for completion yet, so as soon as she gets that, she'll let us know. There is a planned grand opening by Alsatian Oaks. I really don't have any information about the timing of that. We've been kind of in back and forth to see who's doing what to make that happen. But as I learn more, I'll let you know, but they are planning on doing some kind of groundbreaking for that. You can see plumes of smoke from Alsatian Oaks every now and then. They're clearing. It's not visible from 90, but there's a lot of clearing.
26th is when you should see heavy equipment move into the cleared area. The contractor that cleared it finished Friday.
Yeah, it's kinda
Gantes
being
has a big
discreetly
thing
done.
out there now. I saw it today when I was coming back from Lidle.
It's being kind of discreetly done because you can't see it from the road.
That's right.
We will soon.
Yeah.
The big dozers are coming in day after tomorrow.
So I didn't highlight much on these reports. I'll just ask if y'all have any questions. I was going to mention that on the parks revenues, we're 165% of revenue overall. So their collections are considerably higher than what you originally budgeted, which is great. I think Devin's doing a good job there.
I wanted to mention his lack of headers on his financial report.
Yeah, could you have him put headers on it, sir?
He's got it for the first 2 columns, but the rest of it,
Yeah, page
On the
68.
finance,
yeah.
On the revenues.
The parks
What are those
report.
numbers? There's a lot of numbers there. I can't tell what they are.
if I
Page
can get-
68.
68?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Great numbers, great numbers.
Yeah,
Great numbers.
yeah, he pulled that out directly, that's strictly from the budget, so you can see, or actually it's from no, it's from the report that gets every month.
Well, then, and the page before, 67, I see what year to date is, but what's the column before that? Is that last year's?
The 156?
No, the
No, the
6. Let's say
six.
Lions Park rental, 6. Is that last year?
6210100106240 and 1.
Oh, on the bookings?
Is that what that is?
No, I think
Yeah,
that,
Parks and Streets report, staff report, dated this. Park, yeah, it doesn't even say what it is, it just says Parks Department.
yeah, I'll get that. I think that's probably month to date and then year to date.
Okay.
So this is the
Headers.
July report, so these would be the month to date for July.
Oh, okay.
That's participation.
Yeah, so if he could, and it's good that they're giving us the information, but if he could just kind of.
Right.
To me, they should be able to explain themselves.
So, yeah, MTD and YTD, I think is the difference there. And then the pool, that's all year to date. That's all season, right? So that's not just one
It's all
month,
season,
that's the season totals, I believe.
I just got two things, and they're actually really simple.
Yes, ma'am.
The chipper. We still have individuals from the storm in April that are senior citizens that haven't been able to do their brush or anything. What are the chances of the city coming by and maybe picking up some of it and putting it through the wood chipper?
That's a great question. That's something that I've talked to Devin about
Okay.
doing. He has done a little bit of that. Mostly the chipping, being candid, most of the chipping we've done so far has been on our own properties, where mostly at Regional Park, but a couple
Right.
other places where we took down limbs and chipped them, and so we've got several. It is being utilized, which is good.
I know, I heard it today.
Today, they're doing a lot of work at least the streets crew is out by River Bluff. You'll see all the clearing. You probably saw on the way in. Tremendous amount of work got done today to make that drainage better. There's more work to be done tomorrow. So it's just allocation of resources.
Okay.
But that is
just
something I've asked. I've also been talking to Waste Management. So they're gradually picking up piles, but very, very, very slowly. Because obviously in Senate, we're trying to work with the homeowners to make those piles compatible. So get them down to 4-foot lengths and put them in 6-yard piles. And so the ones that meet those criteria are being picked up. The ones that aren't
Not
are being picked up.
necessarily.
Are being picked up by us very slowly and by Waste Management as and when they can. So,
Okay, That's
great.
And then number 2 is, I didn't see any update on the River Bluff Electrical.
Was there supposed to be one?
You list all other things going on, and as far as projects, SCADA and everything like that, I'm just seeing where we're at with that, because here we're over 30 days since we did the town hall meeting.
So I can give an update. I guess I'll tell us other staff updates, even though it's not really in here. But in the Public Works, the mayor and I met with the consultant and John to talk about scope, and he gave us some additional pointers on what we need to do next. And so that's where we are. Chris
Okay.
Harper is going to put that together. What we're doing is looking at, one of the things we're going to do is look at the cost to do the current project as designed. Then we're going to look at what it would cost to do like all 3 projects at once.
Okay.
But the first step is to get our initial phase done. And part of that is reaching out and evaluating costs of as it is in the existing places and replacing that versus going in the front yard. So as you may recall, I don't feel like we had really good numbers. There's expense to moving it to the front. There's additional trenching that has to be done.
Correct.
That won't have to be done if they stay in the same place.
Correct.
And we wanted to get a good number on that.
Okay.
So he's working on doing that.
Okay, that's
Is
all.
that accurate, Mayor? Do you feel like that was?
Yeah, so basically, it's looking at making sure that we can compare Phase 1. It's not an exact comparison because of the way that the houses are laid out, but looking at getting that estimation, so it's a true comparison between the two. Now, they've only priced out, they've only like fully vetted out Phase 1, and so so we were talking about how do we do this the best way, because we don't want them to do all of Phase 1.
Have a repeat of what happened last time?
Well, so if you do,
Because phase one was done, and then the rest of the project got put on hold.
well, no, the way that we're looking at it is, we need to have it nailed down to say, what is the true cost
Right.
of doing it the way that it is existing, or doing it the way that the engineers have recommended. The reason that they're recommending that, if we go back and revisit that, the reason that they're recommending it is because that is the most efficient way for the city to be able to stay on top of this, for them to be able to do the replacements. It takes some heavy equipment and a lot of coordination, and so repairs are going to be a lot slower in the backyard, but I think people are used to that. Just understand that there's definitely going to be a cost, a missed opportunity cost when we're tying people up to do that, but we need to look at that and give people a true education of what that looks like.
Yeah.
And so they'll go back and do those comparisons. We'll see what that looks like, and then we'll figure out how we're going to go and phase out the rest of it. And his point was, and we discussed this already as well, if we do this and commit to the entire thing as one big package, even if it's over multiple, they're not going to be able to get it done in one fiscal year, I don't think.
Right.
So what does that look like in terms of budget and funding and all of
Right.
that stuff? So
Okay.
it is absolutely moving forward. It's a lot of information to get.
Oh, yeah, I'm just asking, that way if the people in my area ask me, I can say, yep, still working on it. All right, thank you.
You going down the line this way?
Oh,
For what?
do we have?
People asking you,
On the staff reports?
do you have a
No
question?
questions? Other than that one?
The animal control, it does have headers, which is great, but there's no data.
Hey, you get data or you get headers? Which one do you want?
Yeah, make up your mind.
This is page 74 and
Baby
79.
steps.
Yeah, hold on.
Chief Jackson, July 1st, 2021.
Yeah, I saw that. I don't know why that's blank. I'll be honest, I saw the same thing, but I just figured, I guess we didn't do anything this last month.
So,
I would've
now maybe Blue's not
I didn't
doing
see it.
anything, and then now we need to talk.
Yeah, I didn't see that, but
We need to-
I'll be honest, my takeaway, Phil, is I guess we didn't do anything last month.
So do we need Blue?
But I don't know if that's, no.
No, I'm just saying, that's what, my reading that report.
Tell me that.
So Justin aside, if we could get data on that.
Yeah, I don't know why that's blank.
Because I have had several people asking me about that data. The other thing, but I do like the chart, if you can just get the
Numbers, yeah.
related to Public Works. About a year ago, John had gone out, tried to get somebody to cut tree limbs around utility lines.
Yes.
And didn't get any responses. And I gave him the name of a company, and I talked to the company, and they said, oh yeah, they're the ones who do the work for the county around here. It's called Cedar Beetle. And Larry loves them, and I gave that name to John, but I haven't, have we contacted them, or are we cutting?
I have to, I don't know, I'll have to ask that specific question. I know they were one of the ones we reached out to when we did the airport clearing. Cedarville, I'm almost positive, was one of the people that responded to that bid. I don't know if that's one we chose, but I know that they were one of, we got 4 or 5 responses, I think they were one of them. I don't know, I know that he has talked to, again, we looked at CPS and we looked at Mena Electric Cooperative, but I have no idea where they are on that process.
Okay, well, if you could
I'll
ask
find
him,
out.
because this is like a year ago I gave him that, because he was going to come back, because he said, man, we need to get it done, and so, but I gave him that name, and if he's lost the name or something, I can.
Yeah, one of the
give it to
last
you.
things we realized is we pay CPS a certain, in our contract, there is an amount allocated for trimming. But I don't know if that's for them to cut, so the question I had, this is several months ago, I think now, was whether or not that amount was allocated for CPS, like that's the value, the dollar value that they're gonna do worth of trimming every year for us, or if that, we can actually take that, like they can write us a check and we go hire someone to do that. I'm not sure how that works. So that was a question I had for John, and I just don't know if he's got an answer to that or not, so I'll find out.
And then the second one is that some months ago, I'd asked about the status of the dams at the wastewater treatment plant, and what's the status of those engineering studies, because they'd come back and,
I just got those this week.
okay, so you need to update
He's got
us
me
at
his
next
cost
week.
estimate.
Right.
It's $250,000 for the engineering for the dam project. That's DAM, not DAMN.
And this is from K-Freeze, and so they've given a proposal breaking that down.
But that's also, yeah, and it's more than just the dams, because there's also the wetlands project as part of that, the outflow, Part of the breads and banks, I think, is wrapped up in that, so it's a little bit more comprehensive in scope. I can forward that to the council. I literally just got it earlier this week.
So we'll have to talk about that in the
Yeah.
future meeting here.
And that's built into the CIP that hasn't been funded, but it's in the document
Okay.
as a
Appreciate it.
recognized
Those-
cost.
Those are my questions.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, great. Anybody else have any questions?
No, I don't.
All right, next item, we're going to go into executive session at, well, I'll announce that in a second. What was that? So the city council will meet in closed session under provisions of the Texas Government Code, Section 551.071, entitled Consultation with Attorney, and Section 551.085, entitled Deliberation Regarding Economic Development Negotiations. The subjects today are West Side Story, Alsatian Oaks, Establishment of Economic Development Corporation, and Clean Sweep. We're going to go into executive session at 7:51.
6:51.
6:51.
They're used to late meetings.
6:51.
Analog clocks anyway.
I'm used to these later meetings.
Hey, it's okay. Our meeting today is supposed to be 1 o'clock. I showed up at noon.
All right.
How did that happen?
Well, I'm wondering, I can't call Clay, but we could call her if we needed to, because we're not, I know it says a consultation, but we really don't do that part of it.
Got your paper with you?
Yes, sir.
Right.
I got a tickle in my throat while ago, and I thought, calm down, you know, and you're trying not to cough, and then I'm like, okay,
Oh, I did two a while ago.
it's not working out.
Your appreciation of the sweetness of our culture.
It's a better poll than we thought started.
You care.
I'm not the only one.
I'm gonna report you to my mother.
I am not the only one.
She didn't hear that.
Mr. Shearer, how are you doing?
I know, well, okay, so y'all gonna beat my $600? Are y'all gonna beat my $600?
Now you're gonna do a tour here.
No.
That way you can get over.
At least there's some good in it for us.
I don't know where my,
I don't blame you. It's like the last
Are y'all leaving?
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna lock these doors. Apparently we have no security here except you. So.
Yeah, he got a call right away after all this order.
okay, I'll see y'all later. I'm taking a lady around Florida.
Oh, okay.
I'll be the security.
You got a key?
Thanks, I will.
What? What?
City Hall didn't open until 8. So
Right, so breakfast will be around 8
something.
o'clock. Just show as you can between 8 and 9, get something to eat if you like. You come right at 9. We'll try to start promptly at 9. I want to be done by 4. But that's entirely on y'all,
Or earlier.
between y'all and the...
And I'm going to be at Commissioner's Court for a 10 o'clock meeting and hopefully get back here by 11.
You better be here by 10:45.
Hey, I had my meeting before yours.
Yes, you did. So we will feed you lunch in the middle of the day.
Half day.
One of the things we'd like to know before we conclude the meeting tonight is what you want for lunch. But let's, she says we're ready to go.
And we worked through lunch.
I slept till 8:15 this morning.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
You slept in.
I got
I
a,
bet I didn't get home till dark 30.
Oh, I'm used to that.
That farming life is terrible.
I think it's wonderful.
I was awake at 4 this morning.
The turnarounds are okay.
Young and lively.
There's an ice chest at the turn row. That's about the only consolation you got.
Nice.
I'm sorry, what time?
All right, so we are reconvening. I was just kidding about the 7:18 at 7:20. All right, consider possible action or give direction on items legally discussed in executive session. I don't believe we have anything for that.
There's no action.
No action?
Board liaison reports. Okay, so this one, just to let you know, we're going to start doing these on the second meeting of every month. I think that we've gotten out of the habit of it, and I just wanted to make sure that we're getting the updates from the different boards. So can we start with, and if you're not ready to, because I kind of meant to tell you before I sprung it on you, so if you're not ready, then please let us know. Sheena?
I have not been able to attend past 2 because I had conflicts to schedule.
Okay.
P&Z has not had a meeting since my last, our last meeting and last report here, and the zoning board of adjustments the same, but they are going to have one on the 30th.
Yes, they are. I'll be there for that.
It's his item.
Yeah, I know. No, I know. I'll be there for that, in part for that reason. If I may speak just on the P&Z, something I did mention to the mayor that I want to mention to you, Paul, is that I'm going to put on Jim and Brianna's plate to begin looking at a unified development code. When we look at these development agreements and we look at what we're asking them to do, and then we look at what our current code provides, it's kind of ridiculous. So we need to update that desperately in some respects.
I'll make that point as well.
So yeah, so that's something that I'm putting on them. It's not a rush,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
definitely something we need to do.
I think Brianna knows it. She's been talking about it for over a year.
So it's a big undertaking.
It is a huge undertaking, yes.
All right.
Historic Landmark Commission met and approved the new roof on the St. Louis Church.
Nice.
Because insurance, it's going to be like a $700,000, but that's an asbestos shingle roof, and they want to put a standing seam metal roof.
Good for
So
them.
Phil tried to expose everybody to COVID, but you tried to expose everybody to COVID, but you were unsuccessful.
that's right. That's the night I had.
Remains to be seen,
I
actually.
realized I had COVID that night.
Councilman Herb says,
Phil, are they doing replacing the copper on the steeple also?
Yes.
That's
The
probably
very
as much
steep,
as the
yes.
roof.
Yeah, so they're doing that as part of it,
Yeah.
which is really cool.
And actually, I drove by that Sunday, the back part of that building already has a corrugated metal roof on it. So it's like, it's...
Kind of a no-brainer.
And they didn't even, it's a no-brainer, because but they're replacing all the roof with standing seam, and then they're going to replace the copper, and $700 and something thousand, better part of $800,000 to do it.
Wow.
But it's insurance repair.
Great.
That's
Anything
it. Nothing else.
sadly to say, I don't have nothing to report either from the airport board because I missed first August meeting, but they were supposed to have a special meeting last night, which we canceled. And I'm not sure why we canceled it. So.
I can tell you why. So there was significant ordinance changes that they wanted to look at, and they didn't get those to David until like today.
Oh.
And he said, I can't incorporate those and bring them back and have a productive meeting in the time frame allowed. So
reschedule.
yeah, so he's rescheduling it.
No
And
problem.
also, they didn't have a quorum.
Yeah, well, yeah, he wasn't sure if he had quorum, but that was the real reason, was he wasn't going to be able to have a productive meeting.
All right. Kurt?
The Library Advisory Board has not met, no quorum in July, and they had the administrative problem, they canceled the August meeting, so next meeting will be September.
Great. And I did attend the library board meeting. It was, so there's still, we've got a couple of high school kids that want to do a COVID.
Parks Board.
Sorry, what did I say?
You said library.
Library.
You
Yeah,
threw me
no.
out. He's like, you just said they didn't have a meeting. You're saying you went. Sorry.
You
I was
had me
gonna say, what, we
confused.
have 2 library meetings?
You had me
Parks Board,
confused.
thank you.
Well,
Okay. So I went
we
to
didn't
the,
have the agenda for it either, so.
so I went to the Parks Board meeting, and we have a couple of high school students that have been trying to figure out how to put up a COVID memorial and working through whether it's going to go into Regional Park, which is what their preference is, or to September Square, which is what the Parks Board preference is. So they did not show up for this last one, so they're reaching out to talk to them about that again. We talked about the recommendations on the pool, and they're talking through, they're looking at some different options for making it just more usable, more accessible. So they had talked through some of the stuff that they got back from the report from the consultant on the airport. Parks Master Plan. I've got to stick on Parks Master Plan. So they're actually very active, so they're doing a great job. They just need to make sure that people are showing up for those meetings. So, all right.
I'm sorry, which one did you say you had scheduled conflicts with?
With the parks?
With the Parks
The
Board.
part, oh, so you showed up?
Yep.
I'm about to say, if you can't show up, I don't mind sitting in there for you.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
just let me
same.
know.
I mean, if
Or
anybody
Darren.
has, yeah, I'm really close.
Yeah, say
But you
Darren
used to
Liz.
be on it.
Very close.
Well, you used to be on it, so that's why, yeah, so if you can't do it, then I don't mind
Okay,
sitting in there.
appreciate it.
Cool.
Wow.
And I think that goes the same for anybody else if you.
Well, I never thought about calling any of y'all. I've been covered up with, my son-in-law's had me covered up with helping him.
You can call Herb since he knows about the airport.
Yep.
I'll remember that next time. Thank y'all for all reminding me about that.
All right.
It really is helpful to hear that, just from just from my perspective as a city manager, one, hearing what y'all hear, we don't always hear the same thing, and two, knowing what some of the issues are, because I don't always hear that either.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's very helpful. Thank you for doing that.
No problem. And like I said, so for the next item for the discussion on future agenda items, just want to make sure that you know that we're going to start putting this on the 2nd. So if you can just get prepared for it, if you want to do like presentation, or if you just,
Right.
I think it's easiest if you just talk it through.
Sure.
Let's start with Herb for future agenda items. We already know about one. We're going to talk about the CCC. You got nothing?
No, you got a plate full Thursday already.
Yeah. Councilman King?
What did you say about the 2nd?
The second meeting of every month,
Oh.
except for
okay.
the ones where we don't have them, then we'll do it at the first one. So for
Okay.
November and December, let's just put it on the first.
Well, and.
It'll have to
just
be the following
To let
month.
you know, yeah, most of the meetings will be canceled anyway.
Oh,
In general, on those, a lot of times they don't have them, and some of them may not
yep.
even be,
Okay.
you may not have one before you have the first meeting.
I got you.
Sure. And we'll just skip over it. If we don't have any, then we'll just naturally skip over it.
Do we need to put Christmas lights on the future agenda?
Yep.
I would
Well,
need-
let's talk about that during the
There's already
CIP.
Halloween
and
stuff out.
During the,
Can
well,
you believe that?
oh yeah, you're right, because we do have funds this
We're
year.
already,
We do what?
We do have still city council funds from this year.
Y'all, well, we just have extra fund balance. Like, anything we can spend between now and October 1st would be good, to cash. That's why I've been trying to push on some of these projects that are low dollar. Let's just go do them, please.
Okay.
Money that's in the budget still?
Yeah, well, yeah, and we're adding more.
So that should be the September, so that needs to be on the September 14th.
We're gonna have like $1 million to fund balance this year.
To add to the fund balance?
Yes. That's why I keep telling you, I have millions and millions.
Why didn't we spend that on streets or electrical in River Bluff or, God almighty,
So,
General fund.
save it for
ready
Thursday.
for Thursday, right?
Okay.
So we'll go over that on Thursday.
To answer your question, you asked me for my
Yep.
agenda item, I've already mentioned what, for Scott to come back on the,
Yes, yes.
the dams and the,
Well, the dam report,
oh, and the tree trimming.
the dam report I'm gonna send out, the tree trimming I might send out via email, but yes.
That's fine.
Are paper streets on Thursday's agenda too?
Not anymore.
We
No,
need to
Oh,
find
okay.
out when that is.
No, Ron Boyce keeps asking me, and I told him I would let him know when it happens, and keep letting him know.
Looks like January.
No, I mean, seriously.
I'm
when
sorry?
we Do Paul's
Can we?
No, I'm just kidding.
Can we commit to the one in 3 weeks, even if we go a little bit late? Let's just do it during that one. Is that all right?
During what, the September 14th?
Is that
The
our
one
next
where we adopt the budget and the tax rate? You think that's going to be a short meeting?
No.
Okay.
Well, no. I'm trying to think of what we have to put on it. If we,
The 28th is not as big as the 14th
Really?
right now.
right now,
Kind of,
what's on the 24th?
Let's
Or the
don't
24th.
overlook
Okay,
it.
well, let's look at
That would be
what
the
we can do with
28th,
that. Maybe
because
we do
that's 2
it.
days before I
'cause
fly
I-
out to Charleston.
I do want to get it, like, right now, number one priority is budget. So let's do it.
Absolutely.
Let's look at maybe the week after budget to do a specially called again.
I like that.
And that'll get us, I mean, we just got such a push on this one right now. so-
Yeah.
Okay.
Or if you don't have a lot on the 28th, we could do it after, as part of the city, the 28th, if it's not a big stuff. But Deborah doesn't think there's a lot on that right now.
well, in my mind, there's not.
I have it here. I'm going to look at it in just a minute.
Yeah.
All right.
I have it right here, actually.
Councilman Carey, you got anything else?
No, that's all.
Okay.
I was just checking to
Councilman
make sure
Martinez?
I'm on, I've been appointed to the Medina County Grand Jury, so I just wanted to make sure I didn't have a conflict.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, boy.
Hang on.
Hang 'em. So
Oh,
far.
I'm sorry, you shouldn't say that on TV.
No, you shouldn't.
All right.
You know,
Well,
honestly, we could do it next week, or the 14th if y'all wanted to. There's a Parks Master Plan presentation. I don't know if that's supposed to be on the 14th, but that could be
Move back.
postponed to the 28th.
Okay,
or in
we'll take a look
October.
at it. Let's make sure that we prioritize it.
Okay, it is the
I
9th.
think the gentleman that put it together.
Probably the consultant report.
But seriously, I think we need to get Paul's presentation, because people are
Agreed.
asking about it.
That's what I'm saying. So
Right.
do you want to put that on the 14th?
Will you be in the grand jury on the 14th
No,
or not?
it's the 9th,
Okay.
which is a Thursday. I needed to look at the
Hopefully they
calendar.
don't keep you till the 14th.
No, they won't, but they might keep me all day.
Yeah.
That's Medina County?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they said they could have as many as 75 cases come through.
Well,
You know, that's something that I haven't been called upon in a long
My
time,
son-
is jury duty.
Got that tasking as well, but since he's out of state, he got it.
He's also a college kid.
So
that's,
14th?
I
yeah,
couldn't
let's
use
try
that
for
one
the
either.
14th. Yep.
Adjourn?
Yeah. We are through the agenda, so we are adjourned now at 7:30.
All right, before you leave, tomorrow morning, this lovely lady has said that she might bring us breakfast pizza
Not
from...
tomorrow.
Tomorrow
No,
morning?
Thursday.
Breakfast
Sorry.
pizza.
Yeah, from where?
It's called Doughboys over in Bandera. So it's a
They have some
wonderful
fancy pizza.
Pizza, it's a good pizza place, and then they
Really?
have breakfast pizza.
That's right, just bring that up, I'm not gonna be here.
So the question is, yeah,
It's gonna take everything.
We'll save you a side.
It's a pizza.
so one, is that all right if we bring some like